Good day, eclectic human here. Today we're making beef stew. The simplest of things, one of the yummiest. So basically I have 2 pounds of inside round, maybe 2.5, and I'm just dicing it up into what I believe would be bite-sized pieces by the time it's done cooking. Everything goes in the pot. Oops. And it's slightly frozen so that it's easier to dice, or cube, and I guess is a little more accurate. So you get one that's about the size of that. Here's my thumbnail, about that big. So that goes in the pot. I'll give you a shot of the pot after. And last but not least, and there we go. So that's it for the cubed meat. And I'll get you a shot of the pot. There's a quick shot of the pot. So once I get my onions cut up and in the pot, I'll turn it on and brown it all up together. So there we have my 3 onions peeled. When I do onions, I'm really not too concerned about what, I just get the ends off, and the size depends on what I'm making. Now you saw how big the beef was, so generally I just slice it from top to bottom, root to stem. So about that big, and it falls apart, which is what you want. If I want to see them in the stew, that's what you got to do, or even a little bit bigger. That's what makes a stew yummy. Saves you all that chopping. I discard the ends, of course. Of course, you could use those too if you're really meticulous. Sorry for the hand, but it's the only camera angle I have. Basically, this way, this way, this way, and this way. I guess you can tell that I changed the size midstream, just simply going on a whim. How I feel they should be cut depends on the size of the onion, and how my psoriatic arthritis is working on my joints and my muscles today. I should say tendons and muscles. So there you have 3 onions, and they'll all go in the pot without a tear. And there's what they look like in the pot. That's a fairly large pot too. It's probably 16 inches across and 10 inches high. So fan of these Kirkland minced garlic. Now for the volume of the stew, I'm going heavy duty because I absolutely love garlic. Can't get enough of it in any meal. Also, I'm going with lard just because its properties are, it's good for you. It's less omega-3s. So here's the amount. There you go. And also, tends to not float like an oil would. Definitely not vegetable oil, because the omega-6s are, detrimental to your health. So we'll turn this on in a second. I really like the rapid boil feature on this stove, the Samsung product. So we'll turn it on, large burner, large pot. See what we get. We'll wait for that to sizzle. And while we do that, I'll do the veggies. Hardest to cook veggies first, turnip, then carrots, then potatoes, and they all go in the pot. I'm not going to boil the kettle right away. I'll just let the meat and the onions brown and start working on the veggies. So I'm going to leave the camera on for a real-time sizzle while I work on the turnip. I'm going to cut the turnip, or attempt to cut it, the same dice size as the meat. If I can cut it through, without going too far astray like I have done already here. Well, let's smell that going. This is really hard to do. I should hire a cameraman. Get that lard down the bottom of the pot. Smell that? Smell the garlic? You betcha. I guess you're wondering when I'm going to season. Well, that will be, I think, just before I start putting vegetables in there. This is one tough turnip, let me tell you. Jeez. Let's see what we got going on here. have it. That's basically it. Now the meat is generally semi-frozen in some spots. So I'll move away from here and get you a new angle. I'll just quickly show you what's going on. And you hear that sizzle? Starting to get some of that stuff in the bottom of the pot here. That's going to add to the flavor. So this pot is really hot. The water has boiled off. And we're down to browning the meat. So I'm going to shut that off for now. And continue on. I'll give you a look at the turnip. That's the turnip diced up. Still a lot of steam coming off there. That's the heat and the water in the onions. So seasoning is basically pepper, black pepper. Remember, you're seasoning for the whole pot, so if it looks like I'm putting a lot in there, think again, right? Salt, same. And I'll adjust that later too. So once you get everything coated, quick stir. Oh, getting lots of stuff at the bottom. That's the flavor you want right there. Fresh juices from the meat and the onion. I'll try and get a shot in there of what the inside of the pot looks like. Lots of that brown stuff at the bottom. That makes it yummy. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to add water. Just regular water out of the tap. Cold. This is about 2 cups or 500 milliliters. Didn't quite cover the meat. So this is the second one. And I put about 3/4 of that. So almost a liter. Call it 750 milliliters. There. And I'll throw the lid on there and let it, that's the size of it, and let the pot come to a boil and reduce it to a simmer. And I'll continue with my veggies. Next up is carrots. I don't peel them. That's where all the yummy stuff is, just like potatoes. So I do the tops and bottoms, tops, bottoms. You know, if there's something disgusting on the outside of the carrot, well, you know, I'll get that off or scrape it off or whatever. I'm just going to check on the pot. Sounds like it's simmering. It's going pretty good. So I'll reduce the heat. Let that go. Now for the carrots, you can see the size of that. So what I'll probably do is just slice it off to about here, just to get the size. And then I'll split the carrot lengthwise after that. So yeah, I'll go a little bit further. That's about it. See the size of those, size of that. Do the same with this one. You know, whatever you'd like to find on your fork, right? There's the size of that. Definitely a judgment call. But you know, if you have little kids, little mouths, little forks, well, you definitely go, you know, smaller, right? But all my children are adults, pseudo adults. So if they happen to show up for a meal, maybe I'll go a little more in this one. Then, you know, my grandkids can have a feed on this too, because they know how a fork operates. I'll just turn that around so you can see the size. Dropped one on the floor. Okay, so just to give you an idea, there's a fairly large carrot, and I'm going to try and minimize my work, find out where it wants to stop. Split down the center. Like so. There you have it. Kind of fat at one end, so I'll quarter it. I don't want a giant half moon of carrot on my fork. So then you continue like so. You know, bite size. Whatever you want to find on your fork or fork. And that's that. So fire those carrots in the bowl and carry on from thereafter. So here we are, about the time it took to chop up the carrots. We have some really nice gravy going on here. Hope that helps, doesn't hinder. So a little bit of Worcestershire, not a lot, just to enhance the flavors. That's it for the whole stew. What I do like to use, give it a quick shake, is beef bouillon concentrate. Not hard to tell I'm in Canada. Probably 2 or 3 tablespoons. Adds flavor, it's salty, darkens the gravy, or juice, whichever way you want to look at it. And there you go. That glistening in those bubbles is the lard. Yippee-ki-yay. And when you go to thicken it, that's what will adhere to the flour, because it's loaded with flavor. Okay, so I've cranked the heat back up. So I'm going to give the carrots and the turnip a 10-minute head start, or the time it takes me to chop up my potatoes. Fire that in there. Sorry for the bowl. And there you have it. And if you notice, the volume of liquid is still just below the surface. So I'm going to add more water to bring the volume up. Just above Oh gee, that looks perfect. So that's another 500 mils, or 2 cups basically. We'll get that going. It's on maximum. We'll get it boiling while I do the potatoes and let it simmer. So we'll give it about a 10-minute head start, or the time it takes to chop up the potatoes. So these are potatoes that I grew in my garden. Well, actually in pots, the majority of them. And I got about 50 pounds. I had one bag of seed potatoes, about 7 pounds, and it yielded about 50 pounds. So it's kind of nice. So here we go. Again, whatever size you like. You know, think about what's going to go on your fork, right? So actually, you know, well, sometimes that happens. So we'll go like this, like this. Small potato, right? Shape of the potato matters as well. There we are. So the idea that's in my head is I'm chopping them the size for about a 10-minute cook, right? Which means they'll be done in like 10 minutes at a full boil, right? And I'm always wrong, and it always ends up being 12 to 15 minutes, which is okay because we're making stew. And I'm the only person probably going to eat it. So if it's overcooked, that's great. And again, you know, I'm not peeling these. Just beautiful red potatoes. I love red potatoes. I also had about 120 leeks. I didn't know what to do with them all. So eventually, I brought them in and processed them in the food processor, put them in Ziploc bags, and put them in the freezer. Well, lo and behold, that's not a good idea, because the smell of the onions bleed, or the leeks, I should say, and everything in the freezer started to smell like, or all the air in the freezer started to smell like leeks. Not strong, just enough. So every time you open the freezer, you get a whiff of mild leeks. Didn't alter the taste on anything, like bread or whatnot. But it was scary, because I had to do something with them and I couldn't thaw them out. So for a couple of weeks, it was like homemade cream of leek soup. You know, every 4 or 6 days, once a week. I don't want to see another leek for a while. So there's the potatoes. Now the pot's just getting boiling, so it hasn't had its 10 minutes. So I'm going to turn it down, let it simmer, cover the potatoes with water so they don't go all gray, and we'll go from there. I don't know if you noticed, but the volume of potatoes is about equal to the volume of the carrots and turnip combined. So that's a pretty good ratio. So I just added the potatoes and cranked up the heat to get it up to a simmer. And I'll let those go for 10-15 minutes. I'll check with a fork to see if they're tender, and I won't stir it so that the carrots, potatoes, and the meat get the additional heat from being below the water. Once covered, they'll be fine for 10-15 minutes. So let's see what it looks like then. Well, there it is, folks, ready to consume. Looks delicious. And I'm not going to make gravy for it. So the juice underneath the vegetables would just have to do the job. And I think it will. So, without further ado, here's the taste test. Let's see, what do we want to get here? Some potato. Piece of meat. Mmm. Oh, that's good. Inside round. Yummy. Delicious. And tender too. So let's have a taste. Oh, it's hot. Mmm. Mmm. Oh, that's so good. I'm so glad I made this stew. Hope it motivates somebody to, do likewise.